What is up, guys? Thank you very much for clicking on this video. I appreciate it. Today's project is going to be a closet door build. These are made out of pine. We're going to use router bits to cut our own tongue and groove, and they have the V groove in it, as you can see here. They're going to replace the old closet doors, which you can see looks like your grandmother's closet doors. And yeah, just wanted to get a fresh kind of look in here. So we'll head out to the shop, we'll slap all this together, get them hung up, and we'll be back at this point. Cool, let's get started. To start this project in a similar fashion to how it's shown in this video, you will need 10 boards at least 78 inches long, 7 inches wide, and 3/4 of an inch thick. I'll show you how I made one of the doors, and with your awesome brain power, wizard magic, or whatever you have, you can make the second one as well. As you saw, my boards are a little over 3/4 of an inch, so I need to plane them down to that thickness. If I could go back, I would have probably taken them down a little more to 11/16. You'll see why here shortly. My boards are 7 foot long, so next I'll cut them to the desired length of 78 inches on the world's most okayest miter saw from Harbor Freight. Here I'm setting the fence to 3 1/4 inch. Each door will be made of 8 vertical boards measuring 3 1/4 inch. The tongues will be 1/4 inch, which will fit snugly into the adjacent groove, which, you guessed it, is also 1/4 of an inch. This will give us the width of 24 inches we are looking for. I should note that when planing or ripping pine, be cautious of the knots. When planing, the blade can rip them out and send them flying, and when ripping, the knots can be a spot with tons of stress and tension, creating a hazard. For this project, we are using these Yoniko tongue and groove bits that create a V-notch. I'll leave the link in the description below. If you're using router table, you want to be sure that the bearing is linear to the fence when set to allow a nice flush cut. I'm starting with the tongue bit, and it's important to keep in mind that you only need to run 7 of your boards through here. Don't want a tongue flapping out at the end of your door. That would just be silly. The same goes for the groove bit, only run 7 boards through it. At the end you'll have 6 boards with the tongue and groove, 1 board with just a tongue, and 1 board with just the groove. And make sure that the V-notch side is on the same face when routering with your second run, if that makes sense. Remember earlier when I said you'll see why your boards would be better off under 3/4 of an inch? With these bits you have 0 room for flexibility, which led to tabs on some of the boards. Now I have to go through each one, snap them off, and use my mini block plane to clean up the edges. Fun, fun. After all that, my tongues are a bit thick, or my grooves are too thin. We may never know. But to get over this hurdle, I just wrapped some 80 grit around a file and went to town on the back side of the tongues. They were still a little snug, but much better. Next, lay out the boards to your liking, matching up the knots or grain, or don't. They're your doors. Do whatever you want. I'm lining up the ends the best I can, and then giving it a little tap, tap, tap-a-roo. And a little more tappy. And a little more. And finally, a little more tappy. Did I mention they were still a little tight? I used clamps to pull them together before moving on. The next step is to square up the ends and get them flush. Using a speed square to start my line, I'll finish running along the board's end. Do this to both sides of the door. Using my handy dandy D.I.Y Trek saw, I'll use the old circular saw to make the cut. Again, do this on both ends of the door. The top and base facial boards will be 5 inches, so I'll rip a board on the table saw. The actual width of my doors are 24 5/8 inches, so I'll cut 2 boards to size using that piece I just ripped down to 5 inches. You may judge me here, but I'm simply brad nailing these to the door. I'll clamp down the board to set it in place and then go to town on the nail gun using 18 gauge nails. After getting the top and bottom faceboards nailed in, we need to measure the angle needed for our crossboard, again using clamps to secure it in place. Here I'm using a digital sliding T-bevel to find the complementary angle of the cut needed. Once you have this angle, you just subtract it from 90 to get the angle of your cut, which is 18 degrees. I positioned it back on the door, made a mark, and wrapped it around to the face, and then made another 18-degree cut. I made a test cut to make sure that I wasn't doing it backwards because, I totally would have. And what do you know? It fits okay. Then I traced the board so I could drill holes through it. By having these holes, it made the screw go in easier, but most importantly, it let me know I was hitting the target. Ain't she a beaut, Clark? At this point, the doors are 1.5 inch thick. The bypass track that I have has a door thickness limit of 1 3/8 inches. To avoid spending almost $100 and waiting on a back-ordered beefier bypass track, I just went to the big box and bought the same one for under $30 and cut it to size. I can now use both tracks spaced apart and hang a door on each. A little unconventional, but hell, it works. If you ever catch me using a Phillips head screw, ask me if I smell toast. They're like pennies. Garbage. Using my own screws, I put the hardware on. A quick look at its backside. Hang the second track. Hoist up the doors, and boom! Beautiful new closet doors. Now go on, go make your own. And please give a thumbs up if you liked the video. Thank you.